I'm seeing this trend that we've seen it growing for the last couple of years, and certainly with what I'm seeing coming out in the legislation right now is more of a move to the mega projects. These big, I mean, we're talking mini, now we got mini megas, we got megas, and, but projects starting in the $1 billion and going up to the multiple tens of billions of dollars. And I just see a lot of these big programmatic spends are going to drive in that direction. And I think, again, it changes the dynamics for a lot of our contractors to just say, wait a minute, how do I participate effectively? How do I invest in the long-term lead time to be part of one of these public-private partnerships or one of these mega consortiums that's coming in to look at these deals? Because, the good side of it is that most of these mega consortiums don't self-perform a substantial amount of the work. They look to participate with local suppliers, but how do you continue to look in the future? So I guess the 2 points to you is, do you continue to see that trend on the mega jobs, and your thoughts and advice on how to get your clients positioning, and is private equity investor an option to bring you into the market play on some of these larger deals?
We tell ourselves over and over again, we're not going to do these $1 billion projects. And then when they get let out, we stare at that revenue size and say, well, this one's different. We can do this one. But no, we absolutely see it. We see the owners continuing to push risk on our contractors, and contractors are taking more and more risk on those large jobs than they ever before, and and the industry really hadn't figured out how to push back effectively on it. But the opportunity, to your point, where there is real margin to be made, is on the self-performing side there. And it's not just we think about those in those large kind of interstate DOT, we're going to see that take place across. We're going to see larger and larger programs on the water side, right? Being able to do program management on the water side. And then there's going to be the need to self-perform on that piece. We're seeing it, our power side is getting bigger and bigger. It used to be all of our solar and wind stuff was going to be these small one-offs, and those contract sizes are, they're not billions, but they're getting larger and larger and taking more and more sophistication to get done. So look, we absolutely see the project sizes continue to grow, risk continues to get pushed onto the contractor, and there are pockets in there where there's strategic buyers that can be helpful, right? So we've supported a number of international firms who have looked over and said, look, I know that X state is going to have a really large program in the next several years, and I'd rather go ahead and get some local labor and some local know-how now, right? We're going to bring the balance sheet. We're going to bring the expertise on estimating $1 billion job, but you're going to bring the local labor and the local knowledge, and there's value there for us as well. And so we see that leading to acquisitions from time to time also.
And we might very well now be in a position to have this legislation come out and say, okay, well, New Jersey, you've got $10 billion coming,
Right.
for education or for transportation. New York, you've got so much. South Carolina, you've got so many dollars. So there may finally be maybe some predictable revenue sources, or at least funding sources, on top of what the outside the private sectors have. I guess my kind of last thought is we're seeing really some pressure now on the supply chain, on the material pricing. I mean, we have always had the labor problem. The labor is not going to go away, but now we've really had 10 years almost of silence on the on the material supply side and the material costing side. That's changed pretty dramatically. And things like the Suez Canal will be just another event to change the dynamics and change the talk about these. And so we saw one large general contractor come up with their own purchasing consortium to try and control some of that for their subcontractors and suppliers. Again, it would seem to me that the capital sources, the mergers and acquisitions, or the private equity type funding could really help a company to position themselves to, I can get this job done because I've got the material hooks, or I've got the abilities to actually can guarantee the delivery on time, as far as those things go.
No, look, and the thing that we've got to really think hard about is, how do we price our work given these volatility and given these constraints, right? How do we make sure that our margins aren't compressed during this period of time? As our projects get bigger, as the world kind of gets a little bit more complicated, the job as a contractor is, it's the percentage of it that's actually building things keeps getting smaller and smaller, right? The job of running a construction business is now much more risk and supply chain management and, all of these other factors that, all of a sudden that pie chart of what do I do in the day and build stuff gets smaller and smaller. And it's just a much more complicated, especially as project sizes get larger and as our clients get larger, Jack, it's a more complicated animal to manage now. And there's a lot more variables that we've got to consider than we did when we started the business.
Wonderful. Alex, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate you jumping on here with me and sharing some of your thoughts. And And I know all of our clients and our prospects are going to enjoy hearing from you, and look forward to having some more of these discussions as this year goes through. I think it's going to be a very exciting one. We're going to keep the seatbelts on and be ready
Yeah.
for what's going to happen next.